It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Mary Jo Foley's here. The Edge team has a plan to make progressive web apps more native, and I'm all for that. Goodbye to SwiftKey for iOS. Hello to the Surface Studio 3. We'll find out ahead of the October event, plus code names for all the Surface stuff. And then Paul talks about that new Logitech Xbox Cloud gaming handheld. It's all coming up next, and a lot more on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 796, recorded Wednesday, September 28th, 2022. Largely pain-free. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Lenovo, orchestrated by the experts at CDW to help transform your organization with Lenovo ThinkPads, equipped with the Intel Evo platform for effortless connectivity and collaboration from anywhere. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo Client. And by IT Pro TV. Give your team an engaging IT development platform to level up their skills. Volume discounts start at 5 seats. Go to itpro.tv/Windows and make sure to mention WW30 to your IT Pro TV account executive to get 30% off or more on a business plan. And by Drata. Security professionals are undergoing the tedious and arduous task of manually collecting evidence. With Drata, say goodbye to the days of manual evidence collection and hello to automation, all done at Drata speed. Visit drata.com/twit to get a demo and 10% off implementation. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with allaboutmicrosoft.com host Mary Jo Foley. That's her ZDNet blog. Hello, Mary Jo.
Hello, Leo.
Hello, Mary Jo. Also with us, the inimitable Paul Thurrott.
The
eponymous Thurrott.com. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Leo.
Hello. I found out an interesting thing about our album art. Somebody tells me that on the iPhone, in the dynamic island, when you're listening to Windows Weekly and it's shrunk down, it looks like a gaping red maw.
Awesome.
I think that's appropriate. I think it's as if we planned it.
The only thing better would be Sauron's eye.
It would. That'd be pretty good, too. Take that, dynamic island.
That.
There it is.
Suck it, Apple.
Palantir is staring at you. So, we had a fun time last week talking about the official release of 22H2.
Yep.
Heard from a few that they haven't got it yet. What's the story?
Just a few?
Everyone?
I know. I'm hearing from everyone who hasn't
gotten
it.
Most people probably haven't gotten it, I would think.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Same.
Nothing to see here. Normal?
Yeah.
Not normal.
Well,
right? Is it normal?
We have a few updates. We have a few small updates.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the deal?
So one surprising one from this morning, my Surface Laptop 3 was offered 22H2. And the reason this is surprising is typically when we've had these updates, feature updates, Surfaces are among the last devices to get them for whatever reason. Like they typically lag behind by months behind other PCs. But today I was not a seeker, not a willing seeker. I was looking for a driver update and it took me to Windows Update and suddenly I was offered 22H2. And so I said to Paul, I was offered 22H2. He's like, well, you're going to install it, right? I'm like,
take it.
But I did. And it's on my PC. It's here. It seems okay so far.
You probably noticed all the many differences.
I was looking for differences and I couldn't find a single one. I'm like, I don't really see anything.
The big one is if you move a window around, a pane will drop down from the top to give you the layouts. It's probably the most obvious one.
Yeah, that's it.
Steve Gibson had something he was celebrating, but I don't remember what it was.
Wow. Is it the always-on security features?
Could be that.
That's probably it.
Could be that.
I would assume it was that.
This is something, given the horrible communication of the first version of Windows 11 and the literal downplaying of the hardware requirements, You would think that Microsoft would be trumpeting the fact that those things happen for a reason, and here they are, but they really don't mention it very much. So there's a feature called Smart App Control. I don't think this is the only feature that, is resulting from this change, but the security requirements, or the security hardware requirements that Microsoft made a year ago, 8th gen Intel, et cetera, are based around the fact that those chipsets support specific hardware virtualization features that enable hardware-backed security. And so even features that exist that are common between Windows 10 and Windows 11 version 22H2 should be more secure because they have the backing of this hardware. But it also enables new features. So we get a Smart App Controls is one. So this is it's an anti-malware type thing. We already have this stuff in Windows. What's the big deal? It literally does a predictive model based on the characteristics of the app to determine whether this thing might be malicious. And if it doesn't have a valid signature and it fails this test, Microsoft will not allow you to even install the thing or run it. It will literally just make it unavailable.
Yep.
So that's a pretty serious line in the sand. You can disable it. You can't do it on an app-by-app basis. And if you turn this feature off, it's off forever. You can only turn it on again if you do a clean install of the operating system. Interesting.
So you know what?
I suspect that's what he's celebrating.
This is kind of interesting because when Microsoft briefed a different reporter at ZDNet about this, because I don't really write about security in depth. I try to avoid it as much as I can, to be very honest.
Yep, as do we all.
So they briefed another reporter, Liam Tung, who works with us, and they basically hinted to him, or I don't know if they said this outright, but they were like, yeah, this new feature is the replacement for Windows 10S, Windows 10 and S mode. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I could kind of see that, right? Like, because Windows 10 and S mode was supposed to keep you from downloading malicious things through the store, right?
The only thing the problem with that sort of theory is that Windows 10S also was designed to prevent you from running apps that might be poorly made that would impact the performance and or battery life of the system too, right?
True.
So in other words, that was the theory. The real reason was so people couldn't install Chrome. I mean, let's be honest about it. That's what it was really for. No, I mean, seriously, like that was it. But yes, I mean, I think when Microsoft could claim that Windows 10S was more secure, it was because all of the security problems were coming from desktop apps.
Yep.
Most of them were probably poorly written or badly written on purpose, delivered via the web, right? But 90% of what we were using was also, desktop apps. So obviously we had issues with 10S. Anyway, that's interesting.
Right. Yeah, but this feature you're talking about, you also have to kind of think about where it won't make sense, and it probably won't make sense for a lot of enterprises because they have a lot of line of business custom apps they wrote, and like what's going to happen with those and this thing, right?
Yeah, they're not signed. Yeah, exactly. No. That's true. Right. I think what will happen is people will test it, and this is true whether it's a business or an individual, and you'll run into that one time where you say, well, I know this thing is okay, and I use it all the time, and I need it for work, and you'll just disable it.
Yep. Kind of like 10S.
By the way, exactly like tennis. Yeah, that's exactly right.
The one time you have something and you're like,
that actually is where the analogy holds true the most. Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I think you also hinted this on the last show, and I think this is very interesting idea too, is, when Microsoft first announced Windows 11, they didn't really tell us what was new on the security front. Like we kept saying, is it really more secure? And they're like, yeah, but they never proved it or really made a case for it. But now they've got these kind of features that are very tied into the hardware. And it makes you wonder if this is, like how they said, you can install an unsupported PC with Windows 11, but where is this going to break? Maybe it's going to break on the security side, right? Like, because people will put it on something that doesn't have the right processor.
That's right.
And then it'll just not work.
This is the unknown. You can install Windows 11 very easily on unsupported hardware. Yep. And the argument I've been able to make to date is there's no reason not to do it, assuming you're doing it for the right reasons. In other words, you have a 6th or 7th gen Intel processor, TPM 1.2 or 2.0 probably. It's going to be fine. That's based on this assumption that Windows 11 and Windows 10 security features are exactly the same because they have been to date. That's going to change over time, and so we'll see how that goes.
Right.
I don't expect Microsoft to block updates from those systems, but it might be fair to say you're taking a little bit of a security risk, because as the threats that Windows users face change, they'll be addressed in Windows 11 with supported hardware, right? Not on these unsupported systems. So we'll see how that evolves. I mean, right now I think it's fine, but we'll see. Yeah, I wish they would come out. I'd love to see a great post describing all these things. The other thing they need to do is differentiate between individuals and businesses. Because if you read the Windows 11, 22H2 post about businesses, they do go through a lot of security features, but they don't really explain which ones are available to everyone and which ones are only available to businesses. They also don't explain, and this is something I'm kind of researching for the book and for Hands on Windows, the other many security features that are disabled by default, often for privacy reasons, because there's data collection involved, that you can enable to make the system more secure. And what are the implications of doing that? There's just no real all out, here's the security matrix and what it looks like. And here's what you still have to do manually to make it better. Here's how Windows 11 22H2 is better for everyone, or just for businesses, or whatever. And I'd love to see some clarity. Is usually the end of the sentence, but right now, it's, security specifically.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
Someday, maybe.
But I'll tell you, the biggest surprise for me installing this today was how long it took and how many reboots there were. Because to me, this isn't a big feature update, right? Like this, I would consider this minor. I don't know.
You did this from Windows Update, right? You were literally offered this.
Yeah.
So off the top of my head, I think I've only seen that happen twice. But my experience, as I remember it, was that you said yes to the install. It sat there and did whatever it was doing. So it would download the update. I guess it would install most of the update. And then at some point you get that dialog that pops up in the bottom corner. It gives you 3 choices, and you could schedule it. You can do it right now. And I don't know what the third one is, but I always did it right then because I really wanted to see what happened. And my memory is that it only rebooted once, and it happened pretty quick, and that the long period of time was what it was doing while you were still using Windows.
Yeah,
which I thought was
longer.
fine, because you can still use the computer, right? Like it's kind of minimize the offline part of it, if you will.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I kept working and doing everything normally. I didn't even feel like it was slowing it down or anything.
Right.
But then when it finished, it just said, you need to reboot to finish. Like that's all it said. And so I said, okay. So I rebooted, and then I saw my screen went dark, and it rebooted a second time. And then my battery ran out. So I had to plug it in.
That can be dicey.
I know. I was like, oh.
It's interesting. I've not seen it do anything like that. I wonder if that's a Surface thing. When Mary Jo told me this morning that she had gotten the update, it made me want to go back to all of the computers that I've tested this on to see if there were any differences. Today, for a variety of reasons, worked out to be extremely busy, so I couldn't do all of them. But I did go back to a couple. The Dragonfly, which is the only PC I've seen the Windows 11 22H2 is coming message on to date. Doesn't say that anymore. It just doesn't say anything. It's just nothing. It's like it doesn't exist.
Never mind. Forget we mentioned it.
Yeah. I guess you only get to have it on one computer, because I have a Yoga 7i 16 that I just published a review for today. When I checked for updates on that system today, it said Windows 11 22H2 is coming, but not for you. And the same thing, it had more details. Like it goes to that page where it shows you the blockers, and it's just empty. It doesn't have any information. So I have yet to see or hear from anyone who has seen a list of the reasons why Windows 11 22H2 is being blocked on their system for now. It's usually driver related, right? Something like that, a hardware component. Someday, right? It's still early days, I guess, but
yeah, it was odd, because for a while I was checking, like after our show last week, I'm like, oh, maybe I should check and see if it's on the Surface Laptop 3. And there was no mention of it at all. Then I rechecked on the weekend once, and I checked yesterday. I'm like, I know I'm living on the edge. I'm being a seeker, but it didn't show up. And then today it just showed up, and there was no like, it's coming or get ready. It was just like, now it's here. Here it
disappeared.
is. Yeah.
Well, that gave me some hope, which was, quickly dashed, but that's how it's going to appear for people, I think. Well, actually, if the system works, the way it will appear is you'll see the message I've only seen once or twice now. Well, twice now, I guess, which is, hey, it is coming. It's not for your computer yet, but don't worry, it will come. Yeah. And people just it's not happening a lot. It's far more common to click on check for updates and to see nothing. I think now that this thing is out, they should at least put that thing up. It's coming. You're just not going to get it today.
I agree. I saw a thread on Twitter over the weekend with somebody saying they had run a PowerShell script and they could tell why their system was blocked. And it said, you have a processor with device guard enabled. I'm like, wait, why would that be blocked? Right.
That's a good thing.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. And I asked Microsoft on Monday if this was the case, and no one has answered me. Surprise, surprise.
Right.
Device guard has enhanced security with Windows 10 and Intel Core V Pro processors.
You would think that would be a plus, not a minus, right? Like that they would be building around that.
Maybe it doesn't work with 11.
It makes sense that you could, through PowerShell, get that information. It's the same thing that Windows Update is using. Why Windows Update doesn't say anything, it's unclear to me. I have also had two more experiences trying to use, one more experience trying to use the installation. God, I forgot that. I don't have it here. The installation update assistant, whatever it's called. If you Google download Windows 11 ISO, that will be the first option on the page. It will not install Windows 11 22H2 on a computer where you have a blocker. It won't let you bypass it.
That's actually good, really though. That's not bad.
It's okay, but here's what's bad. It should say that right up front, but what it doesn't. You go through the whole wizard. It takes a long time to download it. It does a long time of installing. And then after about 45 minutes, it says, oh, I'm sorry, you have a blocker. We can't do this. It's like, there's an order of things that would make a little more sense here. Maybe putting that one up front. Just not design software, but how I would have done it. Because if you use the, the PC Health Check app, which you actually have to use this utility, it will tell you that you're all set. Because that utility only affects your hardware against the system requirements, right? So you think you're good, like, oh, I'm going to get through this. Like, no.
Yeah.
So, anywho, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything more to say, or are we done on the whole?
I think that's it for the update.
Just that's done. We're done for the update.
We'll check in again next week. I'm sure it will change every week.
How about this new What about this new Photos app, huh? How do you like that, huh? What do you think about that,
So
I can't uninstall the Photos app, by the way. After Spotify launched with this reboot, I just went through. I noticed, by the way, Disney Plus. I don't need that. Amazon Prime. Don't need that. Are those Dell things or Windows things?
Those are Windows things. TikTok will be one of them. TikTok's Adobe Creative Suite Express.
Facebook's in there. So these companies
those
paid
are all Windows.
to put, and those are stubs, right?
That's right.
Okay.
But I didn't get any of those since I installed this, right? Like it doesn't reinstall those stubs, right?
Oh, actually, I wouldn't promise that, but you might.
It's not. They're not on mine. I'm looking right now. I'm like, none of those are here. I'm not trying to be funny.
Right, but you might find that they do return over time.
Yeah,
these things happen.
Really?
These things happen.
We just look for it.
So I think this is before the show. We talked about the fact that some people have reported that Spotify all of a sudden starts up when you boot your machine, and that seems to be that the stub has self-installed and put itself in the startup menu.
Yeah, and the only one I've heard that happening with is Spotify, but the reason you notice it is because Spotify is unique in a way because it does try to start up automatically with Windows for some reason.
Yeah.
It's a goofy thing to do, but that's what it does.
It's an unwelcome presence since I don't have a Spotify account. So, or a Facebook account, or I can go on and on. So I just deleted all those stubs. But
there's no reason.
While I was at it, I thought, well, I don't really need a few of these other things that Microsoft installs, like Notepad. Who uses that? So
wow.
No, just kidding. I kept Notepad just for you. But
you cannot uninstall.
Can't uninstall Photos. Photos is a.
I mean, I sort of understand that because you need a way to view images.
Yeah. I understand. No, I completely understand that if it's part of the woven into the OS, I'm sure
I don't
you can't
remember
uninstall Edge either.
Right. Well, yeah. So you can. I don't remember. This happened sometime during some Windows 10 version. They extended the number of built-in apps that you can uninstall. So if you go through the start menu, it's like clock, notepad, calculator, paint.
Actually,
there's a bunch that you
want
can.
clock.
Yeah.
By the way, these were all
of course.
pinned, so it was easy to find them anyway.
Yep. So I think Mary Jo was talking last week about how there's a set of updates coming in October and November that will be part of 22H2 that we're not getting today. And this new Photos app is one of those things. I don't know why they would include it in that list because it's just an app. It can be updated at any time. But now they are testing that version of the app in the insider preview in the dev channel. So basically, they've changed the UI. It's more of a normal Windows 11 style app with the navigation bar on the side instead of top-mounted links. And they got rid of the internal video editor, which was kind of garbage anyway. But now they have Clipchamp, which, as we know, is an excellent, if ridiculously named, video editor. So they'll assume that you're going to use that for video editing.
Yeah. Good. And I am.
I don't know who uses like Photos app to do old-fashioned-y things like download pictures from a camera or a device, like to your computer.
I think if you plug a camera in, it will auto-launch unless you do it otherwise. Yeah.
Yep. I'm just saying, it seems to me those kinds of use cases are going away. Or
really? I would bet most people do that. You thinking they're installing some other app for their photography?
No, I don't think they're putting them on their computer at all. I think what people are doing is
they're not
downloading them, syncing them to a cloud service, right? If you, for example, look, if you're a Microsoft guy or whatever, and you really want to use Microsoft services and everything, you can back it up to OneDrive automatically. And when you do that, you'll see them in Windows 11 in the Photos app automatically. They're just there. You don't have to download them to your computer. So I just feel like this is, I mean, I'm 55 years old and I don't do this. I mean, how old do you have to be to want to do this? It's kind of an old fashioned thing. Like, I don't know.
It's like writing checks.
Obviously, they're a professional. Yes. Right, exactly. They're a professional photographer. I know there are always use cases. I know there are reasons, but I think most people just don't need it.
So Michael, our 19-year-old for years, almost 20, by the way, in November.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's had a bank account, but no checking account. We didn't bother getting checks.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, the union says, send us a check.
Yeah. Right, people are like, send us a voided check. I'm like, a check?
Voided check? I'll send you an old-timey sepia-tone picture of a check. What are you talking about?
I had to go buy counter checks because I needed a voided check.
Yeah, we had to buy checks. It's so funny. So funny.
Yeah. But I feel like that's the Photos thing, right? Like people used to just go, like after your vacation, you plug the camera into your PC and get your photos.
Plug your point and shoot in. They'd go all
Apple got a lot more credit for this than Microsoft, but in the same month of the same year, both Bill Gates and Steve Jobs used some version of the phrase, the PC is now the center of your digital life.
Yes.
And you sync all your devices to it. It was the middle of all the spokes, right?
It lives in the middle.
And then over time, it became just one of many devices and the cloud was in the middle. And that's true whether you use iPhone and Apple stuff or if you use Google and whatever, if you use Microsoft devices, cloud is in the center of this. So you, like I said, if you're a Microsoft guy, you might want to put that stuff up in OneDrive. My photos in OneDrive and Google Drive, Google Photos rather. I'm sure a lot of Apple people put them in iCloud. God help you all. That's fine.
I put mine in Google Photos. That's where mine are.
Yeah, and a sensible spot, I might add.
I mean, you take them on your Android phone. Where are you going to put them?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, most people probably their photos are on their phone. So they don't even think about it.
And Amazon has free unlimited storage. If you're a Prime customer, you can put them all
I know.
there too.
I keep thinking about this because I'm like, I am an Amazon Prime customer, so probably I should do that, right? That makes more sense.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to, but the problem for people, if you're, but not, see, my thing is like, well, okay, but I have like 3 trillion photos I took before today, and I really want those everywhere too. So what's that look like?
Well, if you had started at the beginning, you would have had them all and everywhere. So the reason I like Amazon is if you're an Amazon Prime customer, they store the originals. So I do the Amazon, I do the Google, and
I do originals on Amazon. I mean on Google, but you would incur.
I pay for that. It's not too expensive. I get it anyway because we use.
These are my pictures. Like I mean,
right? It's worth it.
I pay for it.
I have, in fact, in the past, restored all my pictures from Google Photos. Grateful that I had a copy there. Because I screwed up somehow and synchronized an empty folder to my Photos folder.
Yeah. Whoops. In the old days, when you used to download photos to a computer and organize them into folder structures. Now, of course, I'm who I am, so they were super logical. And then you could upload those later or at any time to like OneDrive or some other service. If you upload stuff like that to Google Photos, they just go as like a giant collection of photos, and they rely on search to find things and all that kind of stuff. But if you uploaded them to OneDrive, like they're still there in that folder format. And I got to say, it's pretty nice. A friend of mine literally this past week contacted me and said, "Hey, do you remember when this photo was taken?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I went back to OneDrive. I went to 1988. I went down to found the event, and I'm like, "This is where we were. This is what we were doing." I sent them a few more photos.
Isn't that great? I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. A little harder with the modern.
That's where Google sings, although Apple does that. Does Microsoft's Photos do that kind of stuff?
Yeah. That's what I used, actually. I used OneDrive.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so you could, does it do people?
Yep.
It does places.
Things,
search
whatever.
For dogs and stuff. Oh, good. And it's doing that locally, or is it doing it on the cloud?
No, this is up in the cloud.
Okay.
I often find going to the cloud is the best solution. Sometimes I'll try to use an app on my phone, which is terrible because it's so small, or just going through the file system on Windows. And inevitably, no. It's like a load of web browser. And just go, and it's like, like right in there, like really quick.
Okay, this just in while we're talking about photos.
Yes.
Microsoft just got back about the device guard question.
Yes.
Microsoft has looked into this issue, and they are aware of it and working to address it. So it is correct. If you have a device guard enabled processor, you may be running into.
So it's something they will fix. This is not a permanent.
They said we are aware and working to fix it.
Yeah. I could see that happening. That's understandable. Yeah.
Sure. Well, good.
Well, good. Fine. Okay. If that's how you're going to be.
It's funny because people, so many times, Paul and I hear from people like, I don't want this. I don't want to get this update. I don't want this feature. This one, everybody's like, why can't I get 22H2? I'm not even being offered it. Why can't I get it? What's the reason?
That's a beautiful microcosm of what's wrong with the world. It's like if they give it to you, you don't want it. If they don't give it to you, you want it. It's like, of course, if you're getting all of your feedback from Twitter, it's going to be 99% negative.
Well, that's the problem. You never, ever get feedback from Twitter, ever.
No, we get them from emails, too. Like, people are like, why do you think I'm not getting this update? I'm like, I have no idea why you're not getting it.
We'll sacrifice a chicken and get the smoke going, and we'll let you know.
Okay. Very exciting. I have now made clock a big part of my taskbar. Since you mentioned clock, and I saw it's not in my pin things.
Well, clock is also a big part of the focus, I guess it's called.
There's a new focus
situation
page.
in Windows 11. Yeah.
There's like this whole, that's the first page.
Way, integrates with Spotify, which is probably why that damn thing auto-download.
Maybe. I want clock to auto-open, not Spotify.
Yeah.
Edge has, I'm very happy about this. Edge has a plan to make PWA more a equal citizen.
I shouldn't have called it a plan. They're actually just doing it. So, and to be clear, this isn't just for Edge. Microsoft is part of an industry group that is called the Web Capabilities Project, along with all the other major browser makers that are, trying to further the web and make it better.
Even Apple is in this, or no?
I didn't say that, Leo.
Yeah. Because Safari is not known for its PWA capabilities.
Yeah, no, it's not.
No.
No, I'm not. I'm not sure that they're in. I don't believe they're part of it. But certainly Google and Mozilla. And what they're trying to do is advance the web, obviously, so to make the capabilities more native and to make this work across platforms. So the thing I'm talking about here is not just for Windows. It's not just in Edge. It works on Linux and Mac. And it will work in other browsers as well. And every native operating system handles this capability a little bit differently, but I understand how it works in Windows very well because this is a challenge if you're writing Windows applications. So in the old days, you'd have like a Windows app. It was this kind of rectangular thing. title bar at the top, a couple of window control buttons in there, maybe a menu, a toolbar, and then whatever the main part of the application was. But apps are different now, and you can put all kinds of things up in the top there. And for example, I'm using Brave. I think Chrome probably works this way too. The tabs are they're in what used to be called the title bar, right? They're right at the top of the app. And this requires writing your app a certain way. It's a native capability. You can do this on all of those operating systems, not just Windows, Linux, and Mac as well. To do this in Windows with a modern app framework, basically UWP or Windows App SDK, is actually pretty difficult, but you can do it. So you can put things up there like menu bars, custom titles, account information, tabs, like I said, other UI elements, whatever it is. So what they're doing now, Microsoft, the Edge team, and more broadly with the industry, is bringing that capability to web apps. So if you go to a web app, you say, I want to run this as an app on Windows or some other platform, it goes in this kind of Chromeless window, but it has a title bar and it has those window controls, and that's it. There's no way for that web app to customize the top of that thing. And that's what this does. So they've added this, they have a name for it. It's called the Window Controls Overlay feature. And this will allow PWAs to display custom content in what used to be the title bar, called the title bar area, instead of being forced to use the default experience. So just a little, another baby step toward making these things more more native-like, regardless of which platform they run on.
Yeah, good.
Nice.
Good. Linux and on Mac, but Mac with Edge.
Or other browsers.
Except
look, it will come to Safari eventually.
I think
probably.
Apple, what's pushing Apple in that direction, they did add some more PWA capabilities, is antitrust action. And so if you lock out something like that, I think that makes you look more predacious than if you just say, oh yeah, anybody could run anything they want with PWA.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're saying that if you act poorly,
you could get in trouble.
You could get in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes you look like you are, not like the way you market yourself.
Your words, not mine. But yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
But it's all about posturing. Don't tell me that. Everybody does this, right? Apple did this before with Microsoft when Microsoft put in its. Microsoft did it with Apple, I should say. When Bill Gates put in $150 million into Apple, it was because if Apple fails, then they look more like a monopoly. So it happens.
That worked out for Microsoft. That worked out great.
It did. It worked out well. Yeah. Whoops.
Thank you, Microsoft, for the iPhone. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Whoops.
Thank you.
Apple was, I've heard it said, just months away from bankruptcy when Bill put in that money.
That's right. They didn't have enough money to last through the rest of that year.
No runway. Yeah.
1998 or whatever.
Hard to believe. I think it was like
6 or 8.
Yeah, it was when Steve came back, right? When Steve came back.
Yeah.
Jobs.
Macworld Boston.
You don't know who Steve is. Macworld Boston. That hulking picture of Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Like 1984,
Orwellian.
looking down upon everybody.
Sure.
Hello. Hey, let's take a little teeny break and come back with more. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. We're talking Windows to all our winners and dozers. I like it. We're going to have both from now on. Not just dozers, but you're all winners in my book. Our show today brought to you by Lenovo, orchestrated by the experts at CDW. The helpful people at CDW understand as the world changes, your organization needs to adapt quickly to be successful. So, how can CDW help your business stay ahead of the curve? Lenovo ThinkPads. Love the ThinkPads. These powerful devices deliver the business-class performance you're looking for thanks to Windows 10 and the Intel Evo platform. With your remote teams working across the country and around the world, collaboration isn't a problem because Lenovo ThinkPads keep your organization productive and connected from anywhere. Plus, CDW knows your workforce has, different work styles, needs flexibility, which is why Lenovo ThinkPads are equipped with responsive tools and built-in features that let your team work seamlessly across their favorite tools. Now, think about that for a second. Oh, let's not forget security. These high-performing machines protect at the highest level with built-in hardware to guard against modern threats without slowing your team down. When you need to get more out of your technology, Lenovo makes seamless productivity possible. And CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo. Lenovo client. Thank you, CDW and Lenovo, for supporting your guys, your team, Mr. Paul Thurrott, Ms. Mary Jo Foley, and all of Windows Weekly. On we go with the show. Let's talk, speaking of Intel, about Windows iPhone interop. I'm quoting you here, somebody. Paul.
I know, it sounds like an oxymoron.
It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem possible.
It does.
What can Intel do to help?
Well, if you've been using Phone Link from Microsoft.
Yeah, which I love, but it pretty much is a Samsung feature.
It's a Samsung thing and a Surface Duo thing for the 3 people who have a Surface Duo.
Right.
Microsoft tried. They couldn't get it to work with iPhone because Apple basically blocked them from being able to access the APIs they needed, right, to share photos and contacts and apps.
What, did Apple make an excuse for this bad behavior?
No. Apple hasn't acknowledged it publicly, I don't believe. But yesterday at their innovation event, the Intel Innovation event, they announced something called Unison, an app, which is going to do basically what Phone Link was supposed to do, let people connect their phones to their Windows PCs and make phone calls, send texts, transfer files, transfer photos, do all the things that Phone Link was supposed to do. And it's supposed to work on iOS and Android. They're using this technology they bought from an Israeli startup called Screenovate to do this. And Screenovate is the company that developed Dell Mobile Connect, which was the one example of a product like this that actually worked. So I'm kind of hopeful that this could be the magic sauce we need. But there's only certain PCs this is going to work on. So it's going to start rolling out this holiday on 12th generation Intel Core Evo PCs that are going to first come from Acer, HP, and Lenovo. And then more PCs will be added in when the 13th generation of the Intel processors are available, which is next year. So I don't know if they're going to get all the features all at once, but I'm hopeful. I'm kind of excited. This might be something I could use because right now the way I do this is I use Google Messages on my PC, and that's how I connect to text back and forth.
But that's in the web app.
Android
you
phone.
use the web app, right?
Yeah, the web app.
Yeah,
right. That's how I do it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
that works fine.
Yep.
I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, it works good, but it doesn't let you do the other things like answer a phone call or make a phone call or right.
There was no.
It does. No, in theory it does. I'm on Fi, so I should qualify that.
Oh, okay. If you're on Fi, so I don't even know my calls are coming in or available or making calls.
So when I launch messages, and again it says Google Fi, but it's messages.google.com. On the left, there's a button that says calls and voicemail. I bet you that's because I'm a Fi customer.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have an iPhone, so I don't see any of that, but that's cute.
Yeah.
So until recently, Dell had this app, obviously, that did this. And are you saying that they bought the company that Dell was using and that they took it away from Dell?
Oh, that's
because
hysterical.
Dell no longer offers this.
Right.
As of August, they alerted all their customers this is going away.
Right. So I believe Screenovate is the company that created the technology that was Dell Mobile Connect.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And so then Intel bought that company, Screenovate. And now they're like, hey, look what we have. We have this cool app that we could integrate with PCs and make mobile part of the whole.
Not partner with Microsoft to make Windows better, huh? Okay. Well, that's fine. That's fine. So we want it on more computers than just Dell's. And we also want them not on computers made by AMD or Qualcomm. Is what I just heard.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
It's called competitive advantage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or
so if you're Qualcomm, now you're like, I need an app like this, right?
Yeah.
For ARM.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't understand. So obviously this company from Israel, and by the way, not the first time a company from Israel has bailed out Intel, but this company from Israel has figured out something that Microsoft can't figure out.
Yep.
I'm curious about this. A company with Microsoft's resources.
Work, right? How do the iPhones work with this?
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand how Microsoft can't make this work.
I don't know.
Because the whatever your phone is called now, Phone Link, or what's it called?
Phone Link.
Changed it.
It's
Phone
called
Link,
Phone Link
whatever
now.
it's called, is
Used to be
it's
your
useless with an
phone.
iPhone.
It was my phone, then it was your phone, then it was Phone Link.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. But yeah, I really hope they can make it work. That'd be cool.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It works great with Samsung.
It does. Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's
Leo would probably know this. I don't know. I don't understand. So the way Apple does things, if you're all Apple, right? There's a feature, I guess it's of iCloud or something, that allows you to get things on other devices. So if you have an iPhone,
Mac, iPad, iPhone, all the same messages everywhere.
and so it's a seamless experience, right?
Absolutely, yes.
It is a plotting Microsoft way of doing things to create a really complex app with lots of different endpoints that everything's in one place. And it's like, rather than you're getting a phone call, here's a thing that pops up.
Right.
You know?
And messages from Apple is on all the platforms as well. In fact, that's one of the advantages Apple has now moving to this ARM-based platform is they don't even have to rewrite the apps they've written for the iPhone and the iPad. They just run on the Mac. So they've completely solved that end-to-end problem, and it's in their interest because it's ecosystem lock-in. Microsoft doesn't have the same motivation to do ecosystem lock-in. They don't even have a phone.
Well, they don't have they can't.
They
right?
can't.
There's no way to, they can't do it.
So there's less incentive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Neat.
I blame Apple. I'm just always going to blame Apple.
I have to say,
like
it's a great way of working.
Well, it is at root an Apple problem, but
you can see it is. But
this company worked around
Apple's not going to do it because lock-in means lock-in.
Why would they?
Right.
Listen, they should just allow this, and because the experience is always going to be worse, and then they can just make fun of it.
Well,
and
that's
say,
what
look, if you
happened
want
with
like
iTunes,
a seamless integration,
iTunes for Windows was a great advertisement for a Mac.
Oh my God! By the way, I loaded iTunes recently on Windows for some reason. I don't remember there was a reason for it. iTunes is the doggiest dog of applications ever made, ever. It can turn the most powerful computer into a Commodore 64 immediately. Like, it's ridiculous how bad it is. Now, I know they haven't updated it in a long time, but this thing was never really any good. I mean, after the very beginning, it got bigger and bloatier and, more horrible over time. It is the worst app ever made. It's a great app. It's a great advertisement for a Mac. Although, actually, iTunes on a Mac is pretty bad too.
I haven't tried. I should try it. There is an Apple TV app for Windows. I should try that. And
an Apple TV app.
Yeah. Because I just looked. So
it's got to just be the web interface, isn't it?
What's weird is Apple kind of broke their tradition by offering Apple TV Plus for TVs, for Roku.
Yeah.
And it was a mistake because it's terrible. It's exactly as you said. Oh, wait a minute. I apologize. I can only install this on the Xbox. It's in the store. I apologize. It's not for Windows. It's for Xbox.
It's okay. I didn't recall
that. Makes sense. Yeah.
I think the Apple TV app for other platforms lacks a few things that you get on an Apple TV device, like I think like movie special features that are not available, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's so you can watch their streaming service. And I think and this is the same thing they did with iTunes. The idea is, in fact, it sold a lot of iPods. They realized that most iPod users were Windows users. They also know, by the way, that most iPhone users are Windows users.
Jesus, yeah. So probably still true today.
Yeah. Well, I think it is.
Well, I would imagine Apple TV on smart TVs or whatever devices is probably there primarily so you can rent a movie, I would think.
No, it's so you can watch their streaming service. It's so you can watch Apple TV Plus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course. No, right. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's okay. Right.
Yeah, I think that's their main, because that's a monthly fee. It's a subscription.
That's right. Yep.
But again, like I said, it's a weird thing to say. Most iPhone owners are Windows users. So that's
you think they would treat those people with a little more respect?
It's a strong argument. They had to persuade Steve Jobs to put iTunes on Windows. When they did, iPods took off.
They briefly put Safari on Windows. Right?
Yeah, remember that?
That's gone.
Yeah.
I think they could make. I mean, I think they're making a mistake not putting their iMessage app, whatever it's called, messages on Android devices. I think that would be something people would pay for, even on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
They're just different.
But in fact, we know this because in the Discovery and the Epic versus Apple trial, we saw emails from Apple executives saying we can't put messages on Android, and I'm sure
because it breaks through the lock-in.
Yeah, because then nobody would buy. They literally said nobody would buy an iPhone for their kids. And when Tim Cook was asked at All Things D at the D conference the other day about this blue bubble green bubble issue, he said just tell your grandma to buy an iPhone.
So there is actually right. So there's precedent for a better answer to that question, and I think this actually came from Steve Jobs. You might remember the incident, but something about an iPhone happened. Some guy complained to Steve Jobs in one of those after event sitting on stools.
Yeah, and
Steve Jobs pointed to one of the PR people and said, "Give that guy an iPhone." And what Tim Cook should have said, it would have been no better than what he said, other than the PR angle. Is when he said, my grandmother, blah, blah, blah. Tim Cook should have said, send me an email.
Give me her name. Yeah, that would have been a much more winning answer. Yeah.
Right. It would have been the same answer, but because the follow-up would have been, well, yeah, that's cute, but what about everyone else? And he could have said, we think people should buy iPhones. It would have been a much kinder version of what is ultimately the same exact answer.
Right. I agree. That's a good way to spin it.
It was silly of him
not to. But it's a good way to spin it.
No, I know, but the way he did that was actually very poor. For someone in his position with his experience, it's crazy that's what came out of his mouth.
I'm sure he deeply regrets it because that was the headline everywhere.
Yep.
It's just like Steve Ballmer stamping on that iPhone at the developers conference many years ago.
I enjoyed that. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, sometimes the truth leaks through. You can't be perfect. You can't be 100% coy.
I wonder if they must have eventually built Balmer resistance into iPhones to prevent the stomping.
He's the guy who laughed when they said Apple's making an iPhone.
Well, let's put that in perspective. The thing he laughed about was he was correct. Like
the price. Yeah.
And
they did
by the
lower
way,
it immediately.
Within a month, they dropped the price. Yeah. So people always forget that little important part of that history. Like, the biggest success in the world. How stupid was it? Well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
This thing would never, iPhone sales had dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
Because the device was too expensive, just like he said. So, let's please not forget that. Also, go Clippers. Anyway,
do we ever hear from Steve at all anymore? I don't even hear from him in the
not unless you're on ESPN,
Clipper TV. Does he talk about the Clippers? Because I don't even hear that anymore.
Oh yeah, no, he's as insane about them as he was about Microsoft. If you like that developer stuff, yep, he's just as nuts.
You gotta have a hobby.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh wow. Now I'm going to cry. SwiftKey is Microsoft bought SwiftKey, which was a really nice keyboard. In fact, it was the first one I used. Maybe not the first, but was one that I used with the swiping.
Yeah, it was one of the early big ones for sure. Yeah.
Microsoft bought it, and now they're killing it for iPhone.
Yeah. Just for iOS, they're keeping it for Android. This is funny. A reader asked Paul and I on Twitter about a couple weeks ago. He said, "Hey, what do you guys know about SwiftKey for iOS? It feels like Microsoft hasn't updated it in like a year." And so I asked Microsoft. No answer came back till this morning, and they said, "Yep, we're deprecating it. It's going to be delisted from the Apple App Store October 5th, and it'll keep working on your device until you manually uninstall it or you get a new device, and that's it. We're done." Like not doing it. And so I tried to get them to say why. I said, okay, how about on background, off the record, not for attribution, any of those? Like, why are you guys doing this? My guess is because Apple blocked you in some way from doing some integration you wanted. And the guy's like, we're not saying anything. Go away.
So I'm using an iPhone and struggled this year with a couple of different things that Apple does on the iPhone. And one of the things that's terrible and has not been fixed by iOS 16, despite hearing contrary, is voice commands or voice typing, actually. So I still, to this day, I've had an iPhone since day one. I find it very hard to type on a small keyboard. small screen. And so I speak my text, right? And so Mary Jo knows, because I do this to you all the time. I'll be at the gym or something, and you'll get this. I would say one classic one. I let it go through because it was so stupid. And I was like, I just want you to see how terrible iPhone transcription is. It's awful. So since that event, actually, that might have been the impetus for this. I switched to Gboard, the Google keyboard on iOS.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And my memory from years ago, because I've used many iPhones over the years, is that third-party keyboards always were kind of terrible on the iPhone for some reason. Mm-hmm. And it's been fine. I will say it's been reliable. It's worked normally. The only thing that's weird about it is the thing I want to use, the reason I'm using it. Actually, it's not just this. It's also autocorrect is really bad for some reason. But anyway, but sticking to just voice typing, to do voice typing from Gboard on an iPhone, you click the microphone button, the app switches to a different app, it listens to you talk, and then too soon goes back, because I'm often not done. Like if you pause for like half a second, it's like, oh, you're done. And then it goes back to the app, and then it pastes it into the thing. So it's a little ponderous. And I bet that you're right, that Microsoft had some integration they were doing. They wanted something to be seamless, and it either wouldn't work at all or was something like what I'm experiencing, which is it works, but it works by launching another app and then coming back. Mm-hmm. And it's better from like a reliability perspective, like, you know, the correctness of what I'm saying or whatever transcribed, but it's, you know, it's ponderous because Apple, I think Apple locks down things, you know?
Right. That's my guess. I mean, I can't say it definitively. There could be other reasons. I mean, we don't really know. We don't know for sure, but it was interesting because there was a Reddit thread from a month ago that this same reader pointed you and I to, and he said, look at this Reddit thread, and people are like, maybe Apple's delisting Microsoft because they're not updating the app, and maybe it's Microsoft's fault. And I'm like, I don't know what happened, but when Microsoft bought SwiftKey in 2016, they said very blatantly, like, we're continuing the apps for iOS and Android, because at that time, their strategy to try to stay relevant in mobile was to buy up some of the most successful iOS and Android mobile phone app vendors. That's what they were doing, right? And they were trying to buy up anybody who was like at the top of the store. But this is an important one, because this is something that sits between you, the user, and the phone maker, right? Right. And it knows what you're typing in, so it can feed their kind of AI stuff, Cortana back in the day, whatever. And you know, assuming they allow you to do that. Like if it's an actual open platform, you've inserted something between you and Apple, which you could understand why Apple would not be super happy about. Right.
So I think they make the capabilities less pronounced than is possible, say, on Android.
But they're continuing with the Android app, no surprise, since they're all in on Android at Microsoft. So it sounds funny you say that, but they are. So yeah.
Oh well.
Hey, guess what?
No.
What? No.
What?
The 13th generation of Intel chips is here.
Actually, so you know that 12th gen piece of junk you just bought, Leo? It's not a dick. So
I would really love to see some confirmation of what Intel's claiming. Did you see that they said the i9 at 24, 25 watts is as fast as my 12th gen at 241 watts? Boy, if they're really getting that kind of savings, that's pretty
I just want everyone to remember that for the past several months now, I've been saying I review a lot of laptops, and I've seen a lot of weird stuff with these 12th gen chipsets. A lot of performance issues.
Oh, really?
So, I know that I am not a hardware guy, and people keep coming to me and say, "No, Paul, it's blah blah blah, whatever." But here's the thing. Here's what I know just from real world experience, and then I have these suppositions that I make based on this. Intel used to have U-series processors that were 50 watts that did everything. They were in every computer that I reviewed, basically, with rare exception. And then for high performance with dedicated graphics, you could get like an H-series processor. With the 12th gen, they put a P-series in between. But you got to remember, 12th gen, they've switched this hybrid architecture. They have performance and efficiency cores now. So it's a completely different architecture. I think that for Intel, with this new architecture, to get the performance they were getting with U-series, they had to go to a higher wattage part with more, more cores is part of it. And that was the only way to do it. And that impacts battery life. And I think these P-series processors, which are now incredibly mainstream, what U-series used to be, thing that's in most computers, are getting the same performance and worse battery life because it's the first time they've done this Well, it's the first time they've done it in a mainstream sense. I know they've had a couple of gens of earlier things, but there is no doubt in my mind that as we move forward, 13, 14, whatever gen, this is going to improve. And when you look at these 13 gen chips, which if you follow the schedule, this is desktop, right? So mobile will be next year, but they do desktop now in the end of the year for the holiday season. The U and now P series stuff will be announced in January, CES, right? So the machine Leo was probably announced in January, probably shipped in March. I think you bought it. Well, I don't know when you bought it, but you probably got it in June, right? Yeah. No, this happens every year. It's not new.
It's a cycle of life, guys. It's a cycle of life.
No, but what is new is this is the second gen of its hybrid architecture.
Right.
And I think it's going to change dramatically. And I think it's going to change again dramatically because once this thing is out in the world, first of all, Windows, I think, has to be adapted to run efficiently on these things. I think that's some of the issues I'm seeing. Yeah. Windows apps, et cetera. The world we live in was not constructed for this kind of weird multi-core architecture. It's just different. And so I think what you're going to see is an explosion of cores, right, which is kind of strange. But these the lowest end version, right, which is is it an i3 or an i5? I think it's an i3, has 14 cores. That's the lowest one.
Right.
There are 16 and 24 core versions. You got to understand, 2 years ago, well, desktop, we had multiple cores, but 2 years ago, mainstream computers had 4 cores, period. Mm-hmm. And then, H series, you could get it, it's probably 8, maybe even 12, maybe something like that. On Intel. I'm not talking AMD, but on Intel. This is a very big change.
Yeah.
Intel's also doing ARC graphics, right? In addition to integrated graphics. That doesn't impact what I'm talking about today, but that's another one of those things that's going to evolve a lot over time. And I think those two things evolving side by side, it's going to be quite different. When Microsoft came out with Windows Server Data Center Edition, one of the things they showed us as reviewers was this crazy data center system that it was probably 24 cores or 32 cores. And we were like, oh, because everyone had 1 or maybe 2 cores back then. There was no way we were going to do that on our computers. And you flash forward, I don't know, what's 10 years maybe, whatever it's been, maybe 15 in this case, but 32 cores in an Intel processor for a desktop.
So when Apple came out with its M1, I think a lot of people said, oh, Intel will never catch up. I think you were one of the people who said, give him a moment.
They'll need a moment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and one of the reasons I think people thought that Apple's processors were so power efficient, it was not merely the efficiency cores, which Intel has immediately duplicated, but the process, that they were down to a 5 nanometer process. They're looking at 3 nanometer. And Intel's still stuck at a pretty, 10.
Well, what do you think? What are these desktop parts at? These have to be 11 at least.
Yeah.
Right?
But maybe that's not critical to the whole thing. Do you think this is clearly Intel, somewhat of an Intel response to Apple Silicon?
Look, first of all, I'm not going to dump on what Apple did. That was an incredible transition. And that's even true if you understand they had the playbook already written when they did the PowerPC to Intel transition.
Right.
But here's what I think anyone would agree with who knows more about this than I do. What you're seeing gen over gen with the Apple Silicon is much smaller gains now, right? Because they've already taken the big step of moving the architecture. Now, when you go gen over gen, it's like, well, okay, they don't even really talk about it anymore. They're like, oh, this is the fastest performing, M series chip ever, and then someone finally does benchmarks, and they're like, yeah, it is. It's like 3% faster. Right. It's not dramatic anymore.
Yeah.
So Intel has a lot of ground to make up, but they also have a lot of headroom. Where Apple now is settled into what they're doing. So we'll see what happens. But these the standard advantages of the PC market remain, which is diversity and choice. And then in this case, the ability to pair this with the graphics card of your choice.
Right.
And if you're, depending on what you're doing, if it's engineering or science or gaming or whatever, you have this range of choices. So Apple, I would say, it's incredible what they've done. But on the graphics end in particular, there's work to be done there for sure. And will they ever turn to dedicated graphics, or will they be able to enhance the thing they do internally?
Doesn't look like they intend to. I mean, I agree that's unknown, but it doesn't. It feels like they just say, well, no, we're going to make ours better and better and better. Intel also announced their Arc GPU.
Right.
I haven't. That's all of this is just emerging now, so I'm very curious to see how that.
So there's
performs.
some ARC stuff. There's mobile ARC has been around this year. I've never gotten one. So some computers have a choice. You can get Iris Xe or ARC. I don't remember the mod 340M or something.
Now they have external. Now they have cards as well.
Yeah. Right. So obviously, what Intel that in this case, Intel's not. So hybrid architecture, they're going after ARM. ARC, they're going after AMD because they have Radeon. Right. So AMD is a serious challenger in the CPU space, but they also have, oh, surprise, we also make one of the two major graphics architectures. So, in sort of buying NVIDIA, I guess, Intel has decided to go it on the ring.
Yeah. It's good. Look, competition is the best possible situation. You don't want anybody to dominate. So this is great. The new ARC A770, which comes out next month, is priced the same as an RTX 3060, and supposedly will operate even faster. So that's really.
It depends on what you're doing. If I were like a gamer, for example, I don't think I'd be looking at Intel anything for a couple of years, right? I mean, games today are optimized for NVIDIA and for Radeon.
Right.
Science and engineering, high-end workstation computing, maybe that's a different story. There's different certifications you get there, and I'm sure Intel will be part of that. We'll see.
It's very interesting.
Yep.
All right. I want to take another break. We have much more to talk about, including Surface. We've got an event coming up. I got to know. We're going to cover it. I hope I won't be brokenhearted, disappointed. We'll find out.
Well, based on Mary Jo's experience with her Surface Laptop 3, I don't see why.
I'm a little leery, I'll just say.
All right. We've got some Microsoft 365 news, of course, Xbox news, back of the book too. All ahead. But first, a word from our sponsor, my good friends at IT Pro TV. Love the IT Pro TV. Folks, we've been, kind of partnered since they launched in 2013. They're doing so well. And, we always talk about how it's the place to go if you want to get into IT, or if you're already an IT professional, you want to upskill, you want to recert. But I don't talk enough, I think, about how great it is for teams as well. If you're a business and you have an IT team, I think it's pretty clear in this day and age with networking, security, Windows, all the things that are changing so rapidly that you got to keep your IT team up to par as well. IT Pro TV has the skills, they have the knowledge, they have the training to ensure your business is a success. And what I love about this is you can get it for your team with the assurance that your team will be using it. They will love it because IT Pro TV is engaging. It's great content. All of the IT Pro TV trainers are professionals working in the field. They know their stuff by heart, backwards and forwards, and even more, they have a passion for it, and that's what communicates. And I think it's also what makes it engaging, fun to watch. IT Pro TV sent me a stat. They said more than 80% of users who start any one of our videos finish them. That's a really very, very high completion rate, and it means people are engaged in every area that you need for your IT team training. Microsoft, of course, but also Cisco, Linux, Apple, security, cloud, 5,800 hours of up-to-date training from technical skills to compliance to soft skills. When I say up-to-date, I mean it. They've got 7 studios running all day Monday through Friday because they're always updating this content. It's always fresh, and you need that. Fresher than any school or any book can do because they're always making new content. The tech industry is evolving. It's changing rapidly. Your team needs to keep up with those changes. And, of course, one of the great things you'll like about the IT Pro TV business plans, the enterprise dashboard, is you can justify it to the higher-ups because you'll get stats that make it very clear your team is engaged, they're learning something, all sorts of advanced reporting. Your team's viewing patterns, their progress over any period of time. The reports are very visual, makes it great for showing the C-suite of the board. With the IT Pro TV business plan, you manage your seats directly. You can assign or unassign team members. You can access monthly usage reports. You'll see metrics like logins, viewing time, tracks completed. and a lot more. You can manage subsets of users too. You can say, you 3, take this, you 2, take that. You can provide them with customized assignments. You can monitor their progress. You'll get complete reporting on the usage of the platform to justify the spend. By the way, you can assign not just a full course. I need you to, learn everything there is to know about security. You could say, I want you to take episode 5. You can assign individual episodes. Of course, the individual plans are still there. It's still the best place to learn IT for individuals, for teams. Give your team the IT development platform they need to level up their skills while enjoying the journey. For teams of 2 to 1,000, volume discounts start at 5 seats, but we're going to get you a discount right out the bat. Tell your IT Pro TV account executive, WW30, you'll get 30% off or more on a business plan. itpro.tv/Windows. We thank IT Pro TV for supporting Windows Weekly for all these many, many years. You support Windows Weekly, of course, by using those special addresses we give you, because that's how they, measure their success. itpro.tv/Windows. Offer code's important too. WW30. It's important for you and IT Pro TV. Microsoft 365. Mary Jo Foley, I'm thinking this is all yours.
This one is, yeah. So we've been talking for, I think, a couple years now about Project Monarch, which is Microsoft's idea to create a common Outlook app that works on the web, Windows, and the Mac, based on the same code base. It's been a long time in coming, but it's getting closer. So today, Microsoft broadened the beta for the version of Outlook for Windows, this new Outlook for Windows. So if you're somebody who is in the Office Insider channel, you're going to be able to toggle inside of the beta version to try the new Outlook. And if you slide the toggle to the right, you can try it out. It's nothing crazy. Like I think we all were thinking, oh, they're rewriting the code base. This is going to be amazing, different, weird. No, it looks like Outlook for the web. That's what it looks like, right? There's a few new features that are beyond that. There's like the new calendar board feature that's part of this. There's capabilities like you can call a file by doing an file name type thing. But it's basically Outlook. It's still Outlook. They said that Windows insiders are going to get the code to try soon. The way they call it, what they always say is in the coming weeks. So we don't really know exactly when, but I'm guessing like, around the time of Ignite, maybe they could get it. What do you need to know? You need to know that since May, when they first launched the beta of this, they were missing a ton of features. So they've added back a few of the missing features. So right now you can add personaloutlook.com, Hotmail, Windows Live email accounts to this. Quick Steps, which is patterns that people do repeatedly when they want to organize or clean out their inbox. Those are there now, but they're only there for new Quick Steps. So if you had your Quick Steps that you already loved, those did not get carried over, unfortunately. I don't know if that's a plan to bring those over. You can adjust the width of your columns in calendars. Woohoo! There's still a lot of things missing, though. They've said they've got a laundry list of things that they've committed to. Support for multiple email accounts, work and personal, within the same app, like you can do today in Outlook on mobile. Support for third-party emails still not there, like Gmail, Yahoo, iCloud. Ability to search folders. ICS file types for calendar events. So there's a lot of stuff still missing, but it's getting there. I don't know when they're going to actually make this generally available, but people inside Microsoft have been using this and testing it for months now. So soon, as Microsoft likes to say, soon.
Project Monarch about to get crowned.
Nice. That's I should have used that as a headline. That would have been a good headline.
I'll give you headlines all day.
I would test this now, but it doesn't support multiple accounts.
It does not.
It doesn't support like third-party accounts like Gmail yet. Right?
It does not. Right.
Plus, you have to go through Outlook, and I sort of just on religious reasons.
You hate Outlook.
Outlook.
I use Outlook. He hates Outlook. He hates it.
I am not a fan either.
Guys, I use Lotus Notes for years, so this is a big improvement, I'm just going to say.
Yeah, but anything. Pine is a big improvement over Lotus Notes.
Anything.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yes.
I used to use Pine.
Yeah. Pine was great. I use Mutt now sometimes, anyway,
Of course.
on my server.
Wait, what are these things? Are these email for Linux?
Pine was an email app. Mutt is not
Text,
email.
text-based. Yeah, Mutt's email.
Okay.
They're text-based.
Was it email?
They're TUIs. It's like
I thought
Pine.
it was. Oh, maybe
I've
I'm
never
thinking
heard of
Gopher.
these.
Yeah, well,
Never have heard.
yeah.
Back when you would get like the internet starter kit, you'd get like a Gopher client. You get like Mutt. You get like some like
Pine was
silly
really,
browser that no
really
one
good.
ever heard of.
But it was in the terminal, so it didn't have any GUI or anything.
Yeah.
You couldn't resize the calendar columns.
No, there were no calendar columns.
Guys, that's a key feature.
lucky day.
That matters.
We were
to
pretty
people.
glad just to have what we had. Survey says Teams is an OS platform and needs App Store-like protections.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting. It's, app stores are at the center of all of the major antitrust cases we're seeing in big tech right now, or at least in some of them. And but this makes some sense. In other words, the issue with Teams and Slack too, which I know less about, is that they have stores of a sort. They have an extensibility model. They're a platform. They're what the people who wrote the study say are an OS, right? And what is basically happening is that the onus for ensuring that the extensions or apps or whatever you're installing in Teams is on IT. That Microsoft is just saying, well, it's not, we built the extensibility model, but it's up to you guys to enforce what's going on. It's like, well, hold on a second. Like, I mean, what they're basically saying is that it's funny because app stores are terrible in some ways, but that because these things are platforms and they do have app stores, that those app stores should have the same rules and protections for both security and privacy that the major mobile app stores have, which is kind of an interesting thing. And I didn't read in depth into this, but they literally built attacks that explain why what they're saying is true. Microsoft's contention is that, well, you have to have user interaction where they install something. And they're like, yeah, that's how malicious apps work. The user installs them and doesn't know. There was a story just today that 75 million people have downloaded malicious apps on iOS and Android. So that system doesn't always work, of course. But that's the thing. That's the point. You have to have a system in place.
Yeah.
So I think we can all agree Teams is a platform, at least, in that it's a big thing. It's run by hundreds of millions of people. Maybe it needs to be, formally.
I think that's a good point.
Protected in this way.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think
that was
a very good point. Yeah. Read all about it at Thurrott.com.
I'll read some about it. I didn't get into in depth. It's kind of complex.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Viva. Not a paper towel anymore.
Viva.
Not a piñata either. No
we
Viva
just hired
piñata.
a new continuity person whose name is Viva. And it is everything I can do every time I see her not to burst into that Elvis Presley song.
Right. What does a continuity person do?
Oh, I don't know. No, we have a large continuity department, 3-person continuity department. Their one and only job is to make sure the ads are properly pronounced.
Oh, wow.
And delivered and all that stuff. They deal with the advertisers.
So it's like a business kind of.
It's a biz thing. You just wouldn't understand. So you have the people who sell the ads, but then you also have the people who service the ads. And then you have the people who read the ads. It's all about the ads, frankly.
It is. Okay. It always is.
Has to be, because the electricity bill will not accept Leo tokens.
Sure.
We haven't figured that part out. Nor will the landlord.
Right.
So Viva, this is Microsoft's HR thingers.
Yeah.
Something, right?
And more.
Employee
and asterisk other things.
Employee experience platform, as they like to call it.
Yes,
sure.
Right. So the reason people are using Viva, and Microsoft has positioned it as another platform on top of the Teams platform, is during the pandemic, especially, you needed to onboard people and you needed to connect with them, even though they might be in the office sometimes, they were remote, they might be completely remote, and you still need a way to deal with them as your employees. So the idea of Viva is you have a suite of applications that deals with everything from getting people, into the company, learning the ways of the company, to learnings, like learnings we always talk about, meaning education, things they want you to read in your job, or things that they say, hey, if you want to go to the next level, here's what you should do to go to the next level. Objectives and key results, OKRs for people in the know. So there's a whole suite of things that you do with your employees as an employer, and that's what Viva handles. So last week, Microsoft said, you know what, it's been over a year, almost a year and a half since we first launched Viva, and we're going to add some more apps to the suite. So they're adding a thing called Viva Pulse, which is basically a feedback app so that people can keep tabs on what their teams are mad about, happy about. They can survey them and say, what do you think about this change or that change, and get all the feedback in one place. They've also got a new app coming next year called Viva Amplify, which is if you have people inside your company who are like the communications people, they can broadcast things very specifically, like campaigns that they want people in the company to know about, or messages they want to make sure you don't miss in a very regulated and controlled way. So that's what Viva Amplify is going to do. There's also that weird app I talked about. I call it a weird app because I don't feel like it fits in with the rest of Viva, but I think there are going to be more of these pieces. This is called Viva Sales. Viva Sales is a CRM companion app. I don't know. I kind of know why it's branded Viva. It should have been branded Dynamics, right? It's an app to help you automate and input your information into a CRM system or into your system of record in an automated way, so that you don't have to sit there and type notes while you're talking to a customer. It'll help you actually get all this information gathered and more automatically collect it and get it inputted into your system. The reason they didn't brand it Dynamics was because it also is going to work with third-party systems like Salesforce. So they couldn't call it like Dynamics Sales, because then you'd be like, yeah, but it works with Salesforce, which is the direct competitor. So this app, which is kind of an outlier right now in Viva, but there'll be more of these vertical things. I bet there'll be like Viva Marketing, Viva IT, things like that. This particular one, the sales one, is going to be generally available October 3rd. So next week. Next week is October 3rd. So it was kind of an update, a general update that they did last week, connected with their Work Trend Index, which is a survey they periodically take of employees all over the world to say, here's the trends happening in the world of hybrid work and what we think you could do about them if you want to use Microsoft products. So then they said, and we'll give you an update about Viva at the same time. So there you have it. That's where they're going. Viva started out as a very small, concrete thing, and it is really growing. It's a suite of things
like
that's
Teams.
Expanding. Yeah, like Teams, like Microsoft 365, right? Like it's just getting bigger.
When Teams
they keep
was
adding
just
more things.
Chat-based, chat.
Yeah,
it's basically
I know.
We're going to collaborate via chat.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
It reflects, though, what's changing in the workplace. I mean, workplace has drastically changed. Not for you guys. Your life is exactly the same. But
in some ways, except we deal with things in a different way now because other people we deal with are hybrid, right? Like
that's right.
Yeah. That wasn't.
Well, we don't go to as many events, and I'm not sure that's going to change.
Same. I know. Yeah.
I think that
we've been impacted.
I think that now on CNN, I see people in their bedrooms all the time, which would have been shocking.
It's become. I know
it
it's just
doesn't even seem weird.
It would have been
right.
shocking
You're like, oh.
2 years ago.
Yeah, it really would have. Yep.
He's in his bedroom. What? In fact, remember when the guy and the kids came in and the wife came and pulled him out and
the kid
all
marching
of that?
in.
That was such like a. It was like, oh my gosh!
I've been working
from
home for so long. I lived in Phoenix, and my wife's car was in the shop, so I drove to pick her up one day. So my son was either not born yet or was just born. So it was late 1990s, and I picked her up from work. We're driving home, and I said, "What are all these people doing out in the streets?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "There's cars everywhere. Look at all this traffic." She goes, "Yeah, that's what it's like every day." I'm like, "What are they doing?" And she says, "They're driving home from work." I said, "Oh."
You're like, oh yeah.
And I said, and I had this like Seinfeld observation. I was like, you know what the nice thing about driving home from work is? You're driving home from work. Like they're all done.
You're done.
Like they're done.
They're done.
You know? And I think this is the thing. Everyone's like, oh my God, working from home, it's the best. Yeah, and there are advantages, you know.
But you never get
I
to
think
drive home from work.
You never get
home.
you're always at work.
Yeah, you are home. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not careful about it.
Right.
All right, I need intelligence. And
Okay, we can't
believe
help you with
I've
that.
come to the right place. Surface
Okay.
event. First of all, can companies stop having their events at 7 a.m. Pacific? I know it's fine for you guys, but
Well, Amazon's was at actually that would have been.
I wasn't
9 o'clock for
invited. You mean
10?
today's Amazon event? I wasn't invited.
Yeah,
The West Coast.
I was online.
No, it
At
wasn't
1,
online.
wasn't it? Or
was
noon? I guess it was noon.
It was. They
Noon.
streamed it. I thought they weren't going to stream.
Yeah. Oh, I
Oh,
streamed. Maybe I was invited. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, it was at a normal time.
because they're on the West
What were you
Coast.
saying?
Apple and but you'd think Microsoft on the West Coast might know something.
Well, that's a busy day, right?
Sure.
That's the start of Ignite, the same day that Ignite starts. So it's going to be a busy day for Microsoft.
Well, we're going to stream it,
Yeah.
of course. I have to get up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's safe to say there's been lots of rumors, right?
Yeah.
So the key rumors, and there are mixed messages here about AMD, Qualcomm, Intel chipsets. What's changing? We don't really know for sure. But Surface Pro 9 will probably come in Intel and Qualcomm variants. Surface Laptop 5, which has to date over 2 gens, I think, and AMD and Intel. Might be Intel only.
Yep.
Is one rumor. And then Surface Studio 3. And that product hasn't been updated in
In a
5
while.
years, 4 years, a long,
Yeah.
long time. In fact,
That's
actually, if you
all
think
in
back,
one, right?
yeah, Surface Studio
they're
2,
gonna. I thought
I
they
think.
had killed that.
No.
Kind
don't
of
think
thought
so?
Maybe.
No, well, the latest thing though is it's coming. That's one we
Yeah.
can kind of confirm. The FCC just did some
This
study
is
of it, or
very
okaying
exciting
of
to
it.
me. Oh my!
It's a little exciting. The problem is the picture they have of the device at the FCC. It looks identical to the current version.
Looks-
So it's
yeah.
You
like,
know what I wonder? I wonder if that isn't a picture of the Surface Studio 2.
Or one.
And they just
looks just
no,
like the.
and they just put it in as a placeholder
Oh.
at the FCC.
Yeah, I bet
You know
that's
what I
right.
mean?
oh, all
That's
right, all right. I hope you're right.
Because I tell you what it tells me when I look at this is going to have the same anemic insides. You know, it's a great screen.
Actually, it is maybe notable. Well, it's running Windows 11 though. You can see the screen is Windows 11, so it's not like they've substituted.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Although the computer next to it, by the way, looks like a netbook running Windows 7. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what to say to that.
Right.
So I think those 3 computers are kind of a lock, in whatever configurations.
And
So we'll
Volterra is
see.
a maybe, right? Like Project Volterra, the ARM
I don't know.
based AI kit. Like
You could
they
make the
announced
argument
Project
that
Volterra already. They announced it at Build, but then they didn't deliver it, right? So there's a lot of speculation. They had supply chain issues getting it, and now this could be where they say, okay, it's generally available.
I also
don't know.
noted.
I don't know if this is a strict Surface event or a hardware event or
Yeah.
I noted Panos Panay tweeting a picture out his window, so I know it's going to be something exciting. Saying something about what a great day this is, what a great week
Actually-
it's going to be.
I usually
Working
try to get my
hard.
Panay on the side. Personally, I don't like it
I'd like
in there.
my Panay on the side, please. You think it'll be a pre-recorded 1 hour
Yeah.
Panos
I think so.
walking through his living room, interrupting his
think so.
children,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my daughter playing the piano again.
Yeah.
She doesn't know we're coming. This will be funny.
Although, you know what could be more interesting than this even is, I don't know if you saw Ignite Sessions went live today on the Ignite
I did not
site.
see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of them is a session with Panos Panay. And it says, join Panos Panay and some other people at the company to talk about Windows 365, Intune, Defender, Teams, Surface. And the other people in this panel with him.
So I'm sorry. Did you not say Windows 11 in that list? Is that does that literally
It just
say a
says
bunch of
top
things that are not
features
Windows
in
11?
Windows. Top features
Windows,
in
okay.
Windows is what it says. Okay. But there are other people on this panel. I think Stevie Batish is on this panel, who is one of the lead engineers of Surface.
I
And
think he
Joe
is the lead.
Belfiore is on this panel.
The hair.
Who has been like totally disappeared for like years, right? Like I'm like, oh, Joe Belfiore, because loop is one of the topics, and I'm betting that's his, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay, I was going to say he might have moved on to a broader Microsoft 365 thing.
Yep, he might have.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So
that's a lot of different topics. And what
it is?
Is this going to be a 30-minute session? What is this? How long is this?
Yeah, probably right. I know. I'm like, yeah, it's. I saw it and I'm like, wow, there's a lot going on in that session. Let's see. I'm looking it up because I bookmarked it here. It's Joe Belfiore, Lon Yi, who I don't know from Microsoft, Panos, Stevie Batish. It's Thursday, October 13th for 40 minutes.
That's not a lot of time, but it's also not the Wednesday. It's not day one either. So
it's not.
It's well, look, this event, the Surface event or whatever it's going to be, I'm sure will be canned. It's not going to be a live thing.
Right.
Why would you do something live when you broadcast it and you could get it right? You know, why would you ever
that makes
introduce
sense.
The possibility of mistake?
And especially since it ignites later, they can elaborate on everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's actually a sensible way to do it.
Yeah.
So you didn't see the Amazon thing. I thought their new CEO, his presentation was very much like Tim Cook.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
So it was my understanding, this is today's big Amazon yearly, we're going to roll out 8,000 products in an hour. And it was my understanding that not only was it not going to be live, but that a limited number of press would be invited.
Oh.
I think you got invited.
I was invited virtually.
Yeah.
I don't merit in person.
So did they say anything? So it was a very Tim Cookie kind of.
I thought it was great. I thought they did a great job. Yeah.
Kindle Scribe, first Kindle you can write on. That's cool.
I'm way more interested in the color Kindle. He brought up at one point, he said, our partner, whatever, that does all of our screens. I thought, here comes baby. Color e-ink. I can't wait. I will totally buy one of these.
No. Ambient intelligence.
But they did interesting stuff. Like they own Eero, which is that Wi-Fi mesh networking scheme. If you have Alexa devices in your house, like speakers, I don't know if it's just the new ones, but they'll work as network amplifiers now, which is kind of hilarious. So you could actually use them as a way to extend your network into dead spots instead of buying like nodes.
That's really cool.
I thought that was genius.
That's a nice
idea. Yeah. I don't want a bunch of Amazon devices in my house.
Yeah, well, you might now, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, but I could picture going Eero for sure. It's interesting.
Halo Rise bedside sleep tracker.
Yep.
At least
by the way, good case for that too. So a lot of people do sleep. Well, they've been using the Halo brand for like 2 years.
They have.
For health devices, like they have the Halo band thing, and now they have one with a watch face on it. So the case for that's actually pretty decent. A lot of people wear these things and they track sleep, but then your watch gets caught in the pillow in the middle of the night or something, and he's like, just put it next to the bed. Why do you have to wear it? It's just. It's going to slowly wake you up with light, which is kind of a neat thing. Especially maybe in the winter.
Google's Nest Hub does that as well, using the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea.
It monitors with the microphone you're snoring.
Plus, you wouldn't want a Google device looking at you when you sleep.
Right.
That's a great idea.
So this one doesn't
I can't think of a single problem with that.
This one doesn't have a camera. It's just got some sort of Halo glow bar pointed at you. All right.
It seems like a good event.
New Echo Studio. Okay. New Echo Dot. Dot with clock. These are just kind of updates. I bet you this Eero thing means you have to have. TVs. Yeah, Amazon is bringing its Eero technology to the Echo line. I bet you starting with these. So that means you have to buy these new hardware devices. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're cheap. Like an
existing Eero customers with select devices will also receive this feature through a firmware update.
Okay, so maybe the current gen devices had this chipset in them or something, and they never used it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to build in a Wi-Fi transmitter, I think.
Yeah, it's a neat idea. I live in a pretty big house. It's older and it has lots of dead spots, and I bought additional nodes for a mesh thing, and it doesn't quite solve the problem, especially for Sonos, which doesn't work well with mesh networks and whatever. But it's
Echo.
Good picture.
in your car. It's mostly just, kind of looks like that's the Euro story is the most interesting.
I think so. That's to me it was for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care what they're going to do with their Astro robot.
I'm not going to buy a Kindle I can write on. I don't want to write anything on a Kindle, but I get it. I'm listening to everything they do with
and all that.
The Eero one, I was like, that's interesting because I'm still on Wi-Fi 5. Like I need to upgrade.
Right. This might be a good way to do it.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good
smart.
idea.
They're smart, leveraging their these brands that they have. All right. Well, I didn't mean for this to turn into the Amazon.
I thought it was public. I didn't realize no one else saw this.
No one else saw it, as far as I know. Am I wrong?
Well, I thought it was great.
This historically has never been open to the public and rarely even to very much of the press. So we always, Stacy would be there and we'd always ask her. And Stacy will not be here this week. It's going to be Douglas Rushkoff talking about billionaire hidey holes, which will be fun.
What?
Coming up on Twig. Yeah, he's got a new book about billionaires escaping to, when the end times come, which they created, they have their special places which they'll be going. And it's very interesting. It's a whole Silicon Valley kind of mindset.
And then the non-rich buy places in Mexico City because we don't know what the hell we're doing.
It's going to be fine. Fine. And then what else? We have a lot of events coming up because of Google's thing, October 6th, and now it's October 12th, right, for the Surface event right before Ignite.
And isn't there a Facebook thing or a Meta thing?
We recuse ourselves. I do not want to.
Okay.
I have no interest.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, but if you're, it is an event. I mean, even if you're not covering it.
No, I know. And then people always say, "Oh, why aren't you covering it?" But it's like, because I hate Facebook.
Because we hate them so much.
Because we hate them.
Yep.
That would be terrible.
You have to cover it.
Do I?
I have to mention the word Apple, and I hate them. I mean, you have to sometimes bite the bullet.
Well, you might have an irrational hatred of Apple.
He has an irrational hatred of
Meta. Not
Meta.
irrational, I would submit. And I don't think Facebook. I don't see.
You got to cover it. It's going to be their headset thing or their glasses.
Oh, is
right?
it? Oh, maybe I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been the real reason is because I've been so disappointed by so many Facebook events over the years being completely a waste of time that we just decided. Yeah. Also, because they keep doing it at 7 a.m. and Leo's lazy.
Here's what would get me to watch it. Turn out Donbox, people, those guys, and have them talk about it.
That'd be amazing.
Then I would want to watch it.
Okay.
Mark Zuckerberg, please.
I know.
No interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hate is an irrational feeling.
It is. Hate is an irrational thing, but
you should never say hate about a company. I don't hate a company. I just don't feel like they're worthy of.
I feel like I might hate Facebook. I think it qualifies.
I think because it's a consumer device that's coming, you would want to.
Yeah.
That's
I don't need to cover the Facebook platform particularly, mostly because it's
but
old
just
people
if it's a headset or glasses, that seems kind of interesting, right?
The problem is everyone I know, everyone in my family uses it, and it's the worst. I'm just forced to.
It is hatred because of that.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. I kind of have to. I hate that they bought Instagram. I would give anything for some antitrust regulator to force them to give it away.
Are they not ruining Instagram? Have they not?
Oh my God, they are totally ruining
destroyed it.
Yeah.
There's something out there called the OG app, which is supposed to be like Instagram.
Okay, I got to stop you right here because I recommended it yesterday on Mac Break Weekly.
Is it not good?
Well, Facebook doesn't think it's good. So if you install the OG app, which takes advantage of the Instagram web API, Instagram will say, "Oh, you've got a security problem on your account. We're going to have to make you log in and verify and do all sorts of stuff." Every single time you go to the OG account, the OG app,
I went to install it. It was not available in my country, is what I was told.
So I understand Instagram. They're under a lot of pressure right now. They're very reluctant to say don't use this app, but if you do use it, and by the way, it's beautiful. No ads, no algorithms, just the content. It's beautiful.
Yep.
If you do
Love
use it, they will punish you.
Listen, I would go back to square photos if I had to, just to get the original thing back. I can't stand it. I can't stand how this thing works.
I agree.
Give me your blown out filters and your stupid square pictures.
All right, let's. We can't delay it any longer, Mary Jo. It's time for the Xbox segment.
This will be largely pain-free.
Okay.
Maybe it won't.
The truth.
Interviewed on, I think it was Bloomberg TV, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said that and I'm going to quote here because I like his use of language, very, very confident that we will come out, meaning that the acquisition of Activision Blizzard will happen.
Wow, I'm surprised.
He also noted that...
That's interesting.
You know what? Nothing has happened that has changed my mind on this. I see no reason why this isn't going to happen. I think the process we're seeing now, where there are questions being asked and compromise being forced on Microsoft, is exactly how this works. They said up front, look, this is going to take a year and a half. It's a long haul thing. We have lots of questions to answer, lots of things to change, and they're doing all the right things. So I think it's going to happen too. He also, he didn't say this. I don't actually know who at Microsoft said this, but someone said what I've been saying, which is it makes zero business sense to remove Call of Duty from PlayStation. It's the most popular console. It's, whatever, because Sony doesn't like that Microsoft is going to put Call of Duty games on Xbox Game Pass and on Xbox Cloud streaming probably on day one. And I can understand that, but competition, sorry, that's how it works. I don't think we talked about this last week. I guess we didn't. But Logitech announced something called the G Cloud gaming handheld. It's a 7-inch screen. It's got basically Xbox controllers on the side, and it works with cloud streaming gaming services. Right now, that means Xbox Cloud Gaming and the NVIDIA service GeForce Now. Stadia's not on it, which is kind of interesting. And if you're a Stadia fan, that might be a bad sign. I'm just saying. But this is the point of the console. So actually, Leah, let me ask you a question. So 7-inch device, 16:9, IPS multi-touch, integrated Xbox style controls, Wi-Fi, 12 hours of battery life. Let's call it 6. $299.
Oh,
that sound like a good price?
Yeah. It's basically the reason that price is there is because that's what a Nintendo Switch costs.
Okay. Yeah.
So I
think this sounds great.
The Switch doesn't have as good a screen, I think.
Right. How much is the
the Steam Deck is
Steam Deck is twice that, yeah. But of course that's a
real PC. Yeah. This is not exactly a PC. It's
it's like an Android phone, basically.
It's an Android. That's why I'm not, when I saw it, I thought, oh, should I buy this? It's an Android device with the built-in
bigger display and the built-in controllers. Yeah. I don't know. This is interesting.
7 inches is a nice size, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I could see getting something like this.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything
and if you're familiar with
the Switches, the screen's too small. So.
Yeah.
And
honestly, it's a different environment too. Like I kind of like the notion. I don't understand why Microsoft doesn't have something like this. And Mary Jo was saying, well, what if this hardware event they're having next month has other things in it? Why couldn't an Xbox branded handheld gaming device be a thing?
Right.
But I don't understand why they haven't done this yet. And now that they're doing cloud gaming, this is the time.
Aren't they kind of? But wait. They kind of position the Surface Duo with a gaming controller as a handheld gaming device.
But that's kind of a niche device because the two screens makes that kind of screwy because you have to explicitly support the second screen, right? So you could make a case for like a Surface Go with a controller. It has a kickstand, so it's two things. Right. That device, I'm sure, is $300 probably for the low end version, so it's probably right in there. Much bigger screen, right? Probably 11. I think it's an 11-inch display. That's kind of interesting, but this is something you could pop in a backpack really easily. There is bus or whatever.
There is so much room for form factors in streaming because now you don't have to have the horsepower in the device. So there's all sorts of things you could do. I would like to see a bigger, iPad-sized, 11-inch,
I would too.
12-inch.
That's why I mentioned the Surface Go. It's like, okay, so I don't really care about Surface Go, but actually,
that'd be a good use for it.
Could you put controllers on the side of it? I could use it like a giant. Yeah, that's not bad.
My thoughts about this are conditioned, though, by my experience with the Steam Deck, which is when you put PC games on a screen as small as that, It's kind of not a
so
great
here's the thing.
experience.
So what's happened though since they've done this is, remember, this has been available on Android since the beginning. It's been available on iOS for a while now through the web browser. A lot of these games have built-in touch controls, which honestly wouldn't benefit this too much. There is an issue, like Halo Infinite is the first game. Like the UI in Halo Infinite is going to be like that's big on that screen. That is a little bit of an issue.
Yeah.
But mostly this is I keep bringing this up for some reason. I'm 55 years old. Like I'm going to have trouble seeing the small text on some of these games. But a lot of the people who might buy this are younger people in their 20s, and I don't know. I don't think they'd have a problem with it. I think
portable
Forza
gaming.
Horizon would be great on this.
Yeah, they love portable gaming. I mean, the Switch is huge.
And if you already own an Xbox and you're gonna, go between, play the Xbox at home on a big screen, you play this on the train or bus or wherever you are, while you're going to work or from work, and I don't know. It's not.
To me, the difference is Switch games are designed to be on the Switch, and so
that's right.
Designers know what the interface is going to be and all that. These are PC or Xbox games.
You're right.
Put on a device like this. So I just don't know if it's going to be a good match. But I'll let you.
No, I agree with you.
You go ahead.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if going forward, as Xbox Game Pass and especially cloud gaming becomes more and more popular, if games aren't designed with that in mind.
Yeah.
But you could have a UI that scales depending on how you're accessing it. I think that's going to become more of a thing. So maybe this problem, it's not going to get solved for the 150 games that are on there now, but maybe in the future it will get solved for coming games. Maybe.
I didn't like the Steam Deck either. So, consider that, and a lot of people do.
Right.
So.
In other less interesting news, Microsoft is testing in their Xbox Insiders dev channel the ability to mute startup sounds. So kind of an interesting thing, but I don't really hear this sound too much because mine goes to sleep and comes back. I don't really reboot, but I guess if you're trying to save energy, you would turn it on from a dead stop every time, and it makes sounds. And some people don't like that, so they're going to give you that. That's not to me, that's not a big deal, but it's coming. And other not important news, E3 will be back, baby. For some reason, June 15 to 16 next year.
They say that.
They said that about Comdex. I'm just saying.
I don't buy it.
The problem for these guys is the biggest players don't show up at this anymore anyway. And, even before the pandemic, Sony might have been during the pandemic, but Sony announced at one point they're doing their own thing. Microsoft before that was doing their own thing. Microsoft used to rent out like that. Well, they owned it for a little while too. The Nokia Theater, whatever it's called now, next to the Staples Center. They used to just go over there and do their own thing. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo all have their own events. If Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard, what does the show become? This is like an indie game show. All of a sudden, like what's left? EA, I guess. I don't know what's left. It just doesn't. I don't know. So they've announced they're coming back.
If they're coming back, they're going to try to come back as a fan event, like a Comic-Con, as opposed because they were slowly turning into that anyway. As opposed,
that's actually fascinating to me because I was just saying to somebody, these events like CES, Comdex, and E3 all started out as industry events where you were in the industry, you would go, you would mingle with the people who were doing what you were doing. Partnerships could be struck. You could catch up on the competition, that kind of thing. And eventually someone had the genius idea, like, let's let the public in, and it turned into something else. And actually it turning into something that's just about the public, like a Star Trek convention, or God damn it, is perfect because people could walk around dressed like Pikachu and be idiots. That makes sense.
The press release says the first 2 days are only for business. The third day is consumer day. The fourth day is consumer only day. So there's it's remember they wanted to do it this year and canceled it at the last minute.
They probably could have gotten away with it this year. I'm surprised that didn't happen. I bet they canceled it not because of COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was because of companies showing up. Yeah.
And I think, we'll see. It's just, I don't know how the business climate has changed so that they could do it. I just don't think it's doable. That's who would go if the big companies aren't there. I think a consumer show, make it a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
or a vid.
Then I can just ignore it.
Then you can
That's
ignore
perfect.
it. That's right.
Yeah.
Unlike the camo controller, you can't ignore that.
Right. So actually, I included this in the notes because I thought that charger came with it, but it doesn't. I just found it.
Oh, well, then
Crazy.
don't do it. Don't
So
mention it. Don't give him a plug. No.
It's
It's
okay.
so
It's a special
teensy.
edition wireless
It's
controller. It's
teensy.
$69.
Why is it so small?
The controller?
Isn't it? Is that normal?
No, that's the normal size.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
His
that guy's
hands are
huge
giant.
hands.
Okay.
That's like me holding a controller.
It doesn't look like
Why
that
does it
in
look
my
like
hands.
Why is it like this?
It's so small looking. The mineral
So apparently,
camo.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I guess apparently the quick charging fin is made by Razer. So they've made a version of it that matches the So if you want to spend $110 on $120, whatever that works out to, 70 and 50, 120, you can get the controller and the stand.
Oh,
I'm
I
really
like
sorry
the
I mentioned
stand. It
so.
does look like it's.
I do too.
It's part of the deal.
I thought it came with it. I'm like $69 for the stand. I'm like, that's.
Oh yeah, but if you
That's
are
like-
a
that's a good deal.
serious camo gamer, you're gonna want this.
I'm sorry. If you have $120 to spend on a controller, look at the Elite Series 2
Okay, you're right.
core controller instead.
That is pretty. So stand sold
Yeah.
separately by a different company.
Yep.
Not
I
in the United
misunderstood.
States. Oh,
That's
well.
crazy.
Oh well.
Not in the United States. What?
No, I'm just making that up. I'm just making
Okay.
that up. I
Screw
don't know.
those guys.
Screw them. Yeah. 49. Okay. The stand is $49.99. The controller
I know.
is $69.99.
Yeah,
So-
controllers have typically been $60.
Right.
So this one is $10 extra. I'm sure it's a special edition, something. But
Yeah. Paul Thurrott hand sold.
this is unrelated to gaming. But do you find it coincidental that on the day Amazon had their ambient computing device event, Google has 115 blog posts about Google Search and Google Assistant and
Oh, that means I've got to go research all of those before this week in
look it
Google.
up. Just go to the keyword blog. You'll see like at least 17 blog posts.
Man.
You're killing
It's crazy.
me,
Google
Smalls.
Maps. What are they doing? Why would they do this today?
Well, I know why.
I hate Amazon. Yeah.
They hate Amazon. Search outside the box. How we're making search more natural and intuitive. I know how they're doing it by eliminating search results. Just push them on down the page and give the people what they really want. More Google
They want to
results.
copy TikTok, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody wants to copy TikTok these days.
I want Google Maps, but I want it to be a little more like TikTok. Do you have that?
yeah.
4 updates that make maps look and feel like the real world. Are there young ladies dancing in it? Because that would make it look like TikTok.
Right, exactly. Instead of a car driving down the road, just have a little guy going down. Right. Doing like a Fortnite dance or whatever.
Yeah. Boy, they
Is
did
he
put.
flossing? What is
What are
happening?
they doing? I can't do that dance. I can't.
I just want to get to the place.
Maybe Sriracha can do that dance.
He's
All right,
trying.
let's take a break. Sriracha will be back with more in just a bit. The back of the book coming up around the corner. But first, a word from our sponsor, the great folks at Drata. Is your organization, question for you, finding it difficult to achieve continuous compliance as it quickly grows and scales? Is manual evidence collection slowing your team down? As G2's highest-rated cloud compliance software, Drata, streamlines your SOC 2, ISO 27001, PCI DSS, GDPR, HIPAA, and other compliance frameworks, and provides 24-hour continuous control monitoring, so you focus on scaling securely. With a suite of 75-plus integrations, Drata easily integrates with your tech stack through applications like AWS, Azure, GitHub, Okta, Cloudflare. Countless security professionals from companies including Lemonade, Notion, and Bamboo HR have shared how crucial it's been to have Drata as a trusted partner in the compliance process. Their deep native integrations provide instant visibility into a security program and continuous monitoring to ensure compliance is always met. Drata allows companies to see all of their controls, to easily map them to compliance frameworks to gain immediate insight into framework overlap. Companies can start building a solid security posture from day one with Drata, achieve and maintain compliance as your business scales, and expand their security assurance efforts using the Drata platform. Drata's automated dynamic policy templates support companies new to compliance and help alleviate hours of manual labor. And their integrated security awareness training program and automated reminders ensure smooth employee onboarding. They're the only player in the industry to build on a private database architecture from day one, meaning your data can never be accessed by anyone outside your organization. All customers receive a team of compliance experts, including a designated customer success manager. In addition, they have a team of former auditors. They've conducted 500-plus audits, and they're available for support and counsel. So your success is their success. With a consistent meeting cadence, they keep you on track and ensure there are no surprises or barriers. Plus, your pre-audit calls ensure you're set up for success when your audits begin. Drata is personally backed by SVCI, a syndicate of CISO angel investors from some of the world's most influential companies. So say goodbye to manual evidence collection and hello to automated compliance by visiting drata.com/twit. DRATA.com/twit. Bringing automation to compliance at Drata speed. Now it is time for Paul Thurrott's tip of the week as we enter the domain of the back of the book.
Run into a Discord battle with Mary Jo. But anyway.
Oh, I got to see this. How exciting. Is it a battle of the battle of the GIFs?
It's a battle of, yeah, exactly.
A battle of the GIFs. Wow. They're fun, aren't they? It's hard not to use them. I should mention that you can do this, but only if you're a member of Club Twit. That's the secret. Club Twit members get access to our Discord, ad-free versions of all the shows. They get the Twit Plus feed, and that includes special shows we don't put out in public, like this guy right here is Hands on Windows. Can we count on you, Mary Jo Foley, for Hands on Hadoop? Because that'd be great.
Hands on Hadoop.
Hands on Hadoop.
HOH.
I love the name. I don't know if I'd love the show.
Hands on Surface laptop.
Hands on Surface laptop. No.
Hands on Windows.
Hands on Viva.
Viva.
Hands on Viva.
There'd probably be a market for that, actually. Micah Sargent does Hands on Mac. We have the Untitled Linux show. We have lots of stuff in the club. And, of course, the ability to use terrifying animated GIFs in our
Yes.
Club Twit Discord.
Oh, God, no. No.
That's Hands on Hands.
A million times no.
That's Hands on Hands. Now,
that's not good.
$7 a month. twit.tv/clubtwit. Horrifying images not
It's
included.
like a Stephen King short story right there.
They're going
That's
crazy now. Okay.
I've woken a monster.
Twit.tv/clubtwit. And by the way, you can get Paul's Hands on Windows by itself for $2.99. But just that we don't, with new shows, this way it helps foot the bill. There's no ads yet. So, that's how we do it. Newman says the $7 alone is worth it to creep out the hosts. And I think you're right.
Right. Thank you for that.
Tip of the week.
A little self-serving this week, but I know there have been a lot of questions about the Windows 11 Field Guide. It is coming. The print version, the book version, is about 265 pages so far. There's been a lot of reasons for the holdup. Most of them are my fault, but one of the reasons is I'm going to make a version available on the web for the first time, and that's really complicated. We're doing it through Thurrott Premium on my website, so if you are a Thurrott Premium member, you can gain access to the book on the web soon, as soon as this coming week. So it could be pretty quick. And then you just mentioned Hands on Windows, but in case it's not obvious to people, a lot of the content from that podcast is kind of culled from the book. And so I cover really specific topics, a lot of things that are new or different in Windows 11, obviously. So it doesn't map exactly to the book, but if you look at the stuff that we've put up so far and the stuff that's coming, I think we just recorded, the 12th, 13th, and 14th episode yesterday. And we're going to do some more in about 2 weeks. So it's all kind of part of the same thing. It's just a big, reference, for Windows 11.
Everything you need for Windows 11.
Yeah, it's coming soon, I promise.
Yes.
I have never stopped working on it. It's just been getting it out the door as,
Good. And I'm glad you're putting them in Hands on Windows, too. That's Great place for it. Yeah. Your app pick of the week, my friend.
Yeah, my buddy Brad works at Stardock, so obviously I've been paid a lot of money to mention this thing they do because that's how it works. But you may have heard of this little app called WindowBlinds. So WindowBlinds 11 is now available in open beta. It is the first version to support Windows 11, in addition to Windows 10. High DPI skins this time around, auto dark mode, and all kinds of stuff like that. So it will be available. Through Object Desktop, did I say Object Desktop?
You did.
Object Desktop. Is that the right term? You should probably look at the article. Is that what it's called? No. It will be available through, Object Desktop. It sounded like a next thing when I said it, sorry.
Didn't it?
Which is their suite. As it came out of my mouth, I'm like, that can't be the name, which is their suite of utilities for Windows, or you can buy it individually for $14.99. And if you're a WindowBlind 10 user, you can upgrade for $9.99. So. If you like this kind of thing, if you want Windows 11 to look like Windows XP, for example, this is your solution.
Awesome. Now,
and Brad, I will take that check.
He's joking, folks. He's joking. I don't want any calls from the FTC.
Exactly.
He is not getting paid for that.
This is a
plug.
very popular solution.
Yes. No, Windows Blind is great. I use it. Yeah, it's awesome. It's getting better all the time. Thank you, Brad, for that check. We had just put that in the mail there. Now, Enterprise Pick of the Week from Mary Jo Foley.
So there's a product called SharePoint Server Subscription Edition. You wouldn't know from that name that it is the new on-premises version of SharePoint, but that's what it is. And this week, maybe a couple weeks ago, we found out just at the time that Windows is moving to a single feature update for a year, SharePoint Server Subscription Edition is going to a new model where they're doing 2 feature updates a year for that product. And guess what they're going to call them? 22H2, 23H1, 23H2, just like Windows used to do. How exciting. So if you're using this product, you could get the September update right now, which is 22H2 for SharePoint Server. Okay. No, not at all. There's a lot of features in this. I would say you could do a field guide for this, actually, because there's so many features. I'm not volunteering Paul, and definitely not volunteering myself. But
if you're talking collaboration,
I am not talking collaboration. I am definitely not. The 22H2 version of SharePoint Server Subscription Edition has things in it like anti-malware scan interface, modern lists, doc libs, copy and move enhancements, column formatting, bulk editing, button web parts. There's a whole huge list. Petri has a very good article outlining what's going on here. I knew that Microsoft would be updating this, but they made a big deal out of the fact when they came out with the on-premises version that it wouldn't have as many features as the full subscription online-only edition. But I think they're kind of mocking themselves because there are a lot of things in this update. So if you are somebody who wants to use SharePoint Server online still, you're on the latest version, you want to make sure you get these updates. 22H2 is out now.
And if there's new surfaces, there must be new code names.
Yes. Our friend Zach Bowden at Windows Central, he's the keeper of all these code names these days. So he posted on Twitter a list of what he says are the code names for all the products that are likely to be announced on October 12th. Some of these, I can guess where the code names came from. Like Surface Pro 9 5G, he says is codenamed Arcata. Arcata is a town in California. Surface Studio 3 Chehalis, I believe is how they pronounce it, as a town in Washington State. Surface Earbuds 2, which he thinks will be announced also, codenamed Ella for Ella Fitzgerald. They use famous singers, vocalists for their code names. Surface Pro 9 Zaka, Z-A-C-A. I don't know what that has to do with anything other than maybe it's a joke on Zach Bowden's name. I don't know.
You're a
Project
sucker,
Volterra. Project Volterra, the little mini Surface device that's going to be ARM-based and mostly for AI workloads. He says it's codenamed BlackRock. BlackRock is a city in Nevada where they have Burning Man, but also it could be a reference to the device itself
It looks
looking
like a black rock. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he's got all these code names. He's very, very well sourced and very believable on those. And it helps to know these code names. Sometimes they have different code names for marketing and engineering to try to catch leakers. He didn't say if these were the marketing or the engineering code names, but it's helpful for us as things kind of leak out that we know what the code names are. So when we hear the code name, we can learn which device they're talking about.
Yeah.
So he tweeted this and the whole list is right there.
You could tie it together. Yeah.
You can. Yeah. Connect the dots.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep.
I'm in the mood for a delicious, I don't even know how to say the name of this beer.
I know. I'm not sure I do either.
Good try here. Let's see. Let's hear it.
Right. October 1st is coming up very shortly here. It's not the official start of Oktoberfest, but a lot of people associate October and Oktoberfest together. So I was thinking, okay, what's a great beer you would have at Oktoberfest? I wanted to pick something from Germany, so I picked Eyinger Celebrator, which I've had a few times. It's a Doppelbock style beer. Doppelbock is 2 times the beer or twice the beer.
Mary
Some
Jo,
people call
forgive me. What's the name of the brewery, please?
Yeah, I know. Let me try that. Eyinger Private Brewery.
Okay. That's probably good.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are very well known for this beer. I've had it in different places. I've had it in the U.S. I've had it in Europe. Doppelbock. So some people call Doppelbocks liquid bread because it's very malty, but it's not heavy. It's interesting. It's not like a stout. It's very light, usually kind of see-through in color, even though it's dark. A little coffee-ish sometimes. Very, very easy to drink. 6.7%. You can drink a few of them and still maintain your composure at Oktoberfest. But very delicious. I really like this beer a lot. And I know every year they make a new version of it, and it's very delicious. And if you want to try a Doppelbock, this would be a good one if you can find it. Eyinger. Ayinger.
According to Untapped, this has been ranked among the best beers in the world by the Chicago Testing Institute.
It's really good.
Wow.
It's
Now I
very
want
refreshing.
some. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check it out at my local.
I bet you guys have this in your local
I bet we
store.
do. Yeah, I bet we do. This looks like something they would.
I'm not sure I've even heard of this. I'm amazed to say.
I haven't.
Huh.
Yeah. Doppelbocks are double-bocked.
Yes.
What's that mean?
Just like, I don't know if it means twice brewed or twice the beer. Like there's single box and double box, right?
You know how French onion soup has a piece of bread in the top? It's
Yeah.
like that, except it's beer.
It's a little Gruyere
It is.
cheese
It's like
melted
liquid
on top.
bread.
Okay.
Liquid bread.
Liquid bread.
Yeah. It
good
dates
bar.
back to the monks, like during Lent,
Right.
they couldn't eat. So they gave them like something to drink that would hold them over and it would have a lot of like carbs.
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that story. That's interesting. So
Yeah.
it's basically Lent cheating beers.
Exactly.
Okay. It's good to know. Eyinger Celebrator from Eyinger
You're pronouncing
Private
it much better than I
Brewery.
did.
It is a bock, a double bock.
Yes.
I just channel, some Arnold or somebody, and it comes out that way. Mary Jo Foley writes at ZDNet. Allaboutmicrosoft.com is the special vanity URL to get to all of her writing. She joins us every week for Windows Weekly, as does Paul Thurrott, founder of Windows Weekly. He's at thurrott.com, THURROTT. He also writes at leanpub.com. That's where the field guide for Windows 10 is. And soon, any day now, the field guide for Windows 11. Do you pull down? No, you keep Windows 10 up till 2025, right?
Yeah.
People will still be buying
I'm not
it.
going to pull it down. I mean,
Yeah, no, leave it there. Yeah.
why not?
Steve Gibson's still using Windows 7, so frankly,
Hey, that guy's stuck on Windows 2000 for as long as
whatever you
anybody.
got, he'll take. Yeah, I was a little shocked because he mentioned that yesterday. I went, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me.
No, I guess I shouldn't be surprised either. Paul and Mary Jo join together every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC to do Windows Weekly. As we mentioned, I will be doing a special event October 12th at 7 a.m. We'll be doing the Surface event. Windows Weekly will follow at its normal time, and I'm sure we'll hear all about Ignite, unless you guys are going to be working at Ignite or something like that. But let us know if they call on you.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't look like it.
Okay. I know you have in
No,
the past.
we might get a break.
Okay, good. So tune in. You can watch live at live.twit.tv. You can join us in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. Club members, of course, can chat also in the Club Twit Discord. There is a Windows Weekly channel in which you can embed your favorite animated GIFs. You could chat if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. Chat in the Discord with the kitty cats and the GIFs on your mind. Ooh, yes, join us. Yes, I like it. If you're just listening, you're probably thinking, has Leo gone off his rocker? But I was actually responding to the Discord GIFs, which remain absolutely silly. Twit.tv/clubtwit if you're not yet a member and you want to do things like this. We also have on-demand versions, ad-supported, so they're free, available at our website, twit.tv/ww. There's a dedicated YouTube channel for Windows Weekly, and of course, probably the easiest, best way to get the show is to subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and that way you'll get it automatically the minute we're done fixing it up, polishing it up, getting it all ready for you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary Jo. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next Wednesday on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye, dozers. Bye-bye.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, but your game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. But you already knew all that. What you may not know is that Twit now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club Twit Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club Twit exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club Twit member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.